A very good morning, my brother Stephen Mbide. Many thanks for that traffic update this beautiful Wednesday morning. And of course, I do have Nabillah Sempala, the incumbent Kampala Central Woman MP. She's not alone. We also do have the founding chief executive officer for the Agency for Transformation. That is Mr. Rwakakamba, both of whom join me right now in the studio. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning.
All right, Nabillah Nagai, we are going straight to the point. Yes, the National Unity Platform presidential candidate, Robert Kyagulanyi, yesterday suspended his campaigns on account of what transpired yesterday as he was making his way to Kayunga district to campaign. Even before he could make it to Jinja, yes, we saw ensuing running battles between police and NUP supporters. Dan Magic, yes, Mr. Oyerwot was injured in the process. The security personnel, Mr. Katol, Wilfred, ASP, was also injured during the process. Are we in a war zone?
It's a war zone. It has escalated, actually, since the nominations. Actually, even on nomination day, you remember.
He contends that he was allegedly kidnapped on nomination day.
He was not allowed to come to launch the manifesto at the party headquarters. He was diverted and, shoved into a car and taken back to Magede. So even nomination, it's when, the signs of like a battle line were drawn. So it wasn't just nomination, but it was just saying this is going to be a battle. Police is going to be heavily involved, the military and all other security forces. I've been on the campaign trail, and when I say we need all humanitarian agencies following up on the no presidential candidate, we need the Uganda Red Cross to start, offering emergency aid. We need emergency services.
During these campaigns?
Yes.
So 18 days later, from November, 18 days later, we did see what happened in Luka district. We saw 54 people die in a space of only 2 days. Do you think that precedence is what we are dealing with now, what we saw yesterday when he was making his way to Kayunga? Do you think this is all the precedence of violence that we are seeing?
I think what we are seeing is an election that was not premised on the facts that are pertaining on the ground. The COVID situation was ignored and was trivialized during the NRM primaries because it was a mass election. People lined up behind each other. There was campaigning. So I think people said, I think this is the way the campaigns are going to be managed. And the Electoral Commission did not really put guidelines that would be followed by agencies and all presidential candidates. And what we are seeing is security agencies have taken over the elections, and the Electoral Commission is silently watching. So I think for Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi to say, let's first put a hold on these elections and ask, look here, who is the referee? Where is the Electoral Commission? Where is Mr. Rwakakamba? Actually, I've on several occasions called out Mr. Rwakakamba, saying he thinks he has a veil, that he's invisible. It's like he's not seated in that office, overseeing such a chaotic election. No one has done that. I think Mr. Rwakakamba, with all due respect, this is a shame.
Rwakakamba, presidential candidates on unofficial campaign trail are being roughed up, beaten left, right, and center, being denied access to certain jurisdictions. What do you make of all this?
Well, I think first of all, it's unfortunate. As a country, this is not what we should be seeing or what we should expect in terms of standard of any election. But I think I would not rush to call this a war. I think this is elections violence, because to call it a war, I think would be to diminish the pain. For example, the people of Rwakakamba who saw what a war looks like, would think it would be to diminish the pain of people in northern Uganda who experienced a war and know what it looks like. Because I think this is a time, in my view, for Ugandans, across all the political divide, across all the religious divide, or any other formations, to really look on the inside and reflect, why is it that elections time, or electioneering, or politics, bring out really the heart of danger in us as Ugandans, and not the sacred heart, really, of embracing each other. This is not on any one particular side when it comes to elections and the passion and the violence. You remember what happened at Burange when Dr. Chiza Besigye was stoned by people power, groups, because then the contestation was who becomes the opposition supremo. There were no NRM supporters in that confusion. You remember Honorable Nabillah, when she went to the FDC trying to run for mayor of Kampala, and she was hounded out by, her own party members out of FDC. And she came on this TV. I remember the fights and all those situations. So I think across the board, really, as Ugandans, we need to reflect. What is it that comes to us? To respond to elections with really the heart of danger and not sacred heart. So I think that's really problematic. But point number two, first of all, before elections, before presidential candidates that we support or don't support, first of all, we are Ugandans. Okay? We are Ugandans before presidential candidates. We are Ugandans before elections. We are Ugandans. We should embrace each other. So these are sins that we shouldn't be seeing. And this is why I do believe that we still have some convening groups, like the Interreligious Council of Uganda, who I think have sat on the back seat for a long time. They should be coming out vehemently, really to talk to their parishioners and believers and condemn violence. All political leaders, whether it is NUP, whether it is NRM, whether it is DP, they should all come out and speak to their supporters against this violence, okay? Because leadership is about messaging. Leadership is about mobilization. Leadership is about showing people the broader way beyond emotions. And I can tell you that across the board, okay, leaders are not coming out, vehemently to speak against violence, to speak directly to their supporters. Then the final piece is that I think the NRM is this situation of NRM is a party of ideas football. It should be playing the football of ideas. We shouldn't be seeing the throwing around of canisters, tear gas canisters, defining the message, defining the ideas of the national resistance movement. The president yesterday launched the Rwakakamba. He was in Busia launching a market that is delivering 2,400 jobs and good working environment, for the vendors, okay? The president was launching in Mbare an electricity substation. These are very serious achievements. So NRM is running on a very serious record, and NRM must get back to being a party of ideas, and we shouldn't allow mismanagement in policing, okay? To kind of defame and push away the party really from the message of hope, from the message of the future, from the policy ideals. But having said that, leaders across the board, political actors should also act responsibly. And by the way, we have got a record that, for example, when Robert Kyagulanyi won elections in Kyadondo East, he had defeated President Museveni, who campaigned vehemently against him. Chiza Besigye had campaigned against Bobi Wine in Kyadondo East vehemently. He defeated all the political forces. He led the processions of 10,000s of people from Kyadondo up to Parliament. There was no tear gas. Nobody touched
Because
him.
the stakes were lower.
So, no, they were not. Because remember, this is a political trend line. They were not lower. So I still do believe that our police, okay, can, pick from that, how they managed that procession up to Parliament, to even manage those situations without getting people hurt.
There they were just handling a member of parliament.
Yes.
Now this is a presidential candidate who is threatening the boss, President Yoweri Museveni. And then you mentioned something about electoral violence, all political leaders coming on board to actually denounce electoral violence during this period. Yes. But then we haven't seen the president come out verifiably to denounce electoral violence from the side of the police who are meting out violence against the innocent civilians within this country.
I think
except what we've seen is the president trying to, sugarcoat the situation, support the security apparatus, saying they were actually...
If you listen to the speech that he made over this issue of violence, and he showed the videos of violence from both the security services and from the supporters of NUP or the rioters who could have been, participated in the riots in order to steal or in order to kill and in order to mine.
But that is one day.
He showed those videos.
That is one day, boss in Rwakakamba. We also have incidences yesterday that happened as he was making his way to Kayunga.
Secondly, the president was very clear. He said that security services and the police that are involved, they are going to be investigated. And you saw from the head of, from one chief in the UPDF who says they have already started investigations. And the Minister of President has also said that. And I also do agree that independent, investigations into those incidents, whether they are yesterday's incidents or, the other incidents that were even much more acrimonious and much more, that came with a lot of melancholy and sadness for the country, they should be investigated and perpetrators should face law. Because at the end of the day,
moving forward,
we are Uganda.
Yes. Are we dealing with a partisan police force or security regime
I think
in this
police
country?
is under siege. We should be very honest. Police is under a lot of pressure from government, from the state, to mete out utmost, force on the processions of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi. And we can say this. I don't think
should he be holding processions?
No, let me tell you, when someone is passing, there's an incident where the president is passing and the people who are on the sides who are NRM
The surrogates have been seeing that.
are being told, okay, keep calm, let the president wave to you. I wish police would do the same and say, stay calm, be on the sides.
Even yesterday before he went to Busia, there were processions ready to invite him into their stronghold.
So I just want to say that, Maurice, we are seeing a repeat of somebody who's so threatened by the campaigns. The NRM candidate is so threatened by this campaign.
Okay, let's get an update from the NRM candidate and Nabillah
I will respond to that.
Yes, we shall get an update from the NRM candidate, Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa. We shall be talking to Herbert Ziwa, who is somewhere around Tororo, to get more details on this and a lot more. Nabillah Nagai Sempala, continue, but I shall cut you short when we get that feedback.
Okay, all I can say is that we know 35 years in May does not call for someone to be comfortable or comfortably competing.
Nagai, can I respond to that quickly?
Yes. Let me finish this.
Okay, of course.
And we know very well history is on our side, that overstay is at play, being threatened by a younger, energetic, popular individual is something to deal with. We cannot downplay that. I think Museveni, Mr. President, is dealing with his own image almost 40 years ago. He's fighting his pseudo-image, character. The Chagulanyi of today, whether he's termed ragtag, whether he's termed what, reminds the president of his former self, of his charismatic self, of his, popularity. And dealing with that right now, amidst COVID tension, amidst the threat of overstay, and knowing that he has, all these apparatus, the security, the state machinery on his side, RDCs, I think he's saying, why don't you unleash this? Stop him. But if he could, just calm down, pause, and say, look here, who is the Museveni of 1980 or 86? Isn't this a repeat of the same character, but now in the names of Robert Chagulanyi? So I think fighting himself has become, the change, the change maker right now.
Well, I think President Museveni from years back, has a record, of being a visionary. He was not just an agitator, he was anchored in a broader strategic, policy, and he would articulate it and articulate a journey, which we don't see definitely in Honorable Chagulanyi, and I think you really know that. But having said that, having said that, we should have competition from anybody who wants to really run for office, whether it is Nagai, Nabillah, whether it is Chagulanyi. I think it is okay, really, for a country. But to say that President Museveni, because of, longevity, that he fears the people, that he's a bit scared. I don't think that's the case. Why? One, he's entering into this election leading a party called the National Resistance Movement. The National Resistance Movement already has 10 MPs, really, who have been elected, unopposed, because NUP, FDC, all these other groups could not, even deliver candidates in those places. When you don't have support, you don't deliver candidates. But also, too, the National Resistance Movement Party won LOC elections at every village by over 80%. Okay? And this is where people are, at the village, at the local council level.
So why the panic?
Youth, by the way, the youth, because the Nabillah has said their party, which she just recently joined, is just a part of the youth. That
it's a new party.
That their own ideology is the generation ideology.
And it's valid.
They are not multi-generation.
But don't forget,
they don't care about women. They don't care about elders. They don't care about. They don't care about people with disabilities.
We are women.
They are just for the youth, and they assume
the youth include women too.
They just assume that all the youth are for. But that's not the case, because we recently had youth council elections, and youth elections in this NRM won by over 70%. So these are numbers, these are facts. So there is no way, with such a record, with such entrenchedness, with structures and retail politics all over the country, that the candidate of NRM would be scared. Absolutely not.
Nabillah Nagai,
the numbers don't back that.
Nabillah Nagai, you clinched your very, very first MP seat in 2006. A year before that, we saw the restoration of multi-party politics. But then, since then, we'd like to know from you, have you noticed a development of democracy within this country, as far as the development of democracy in this country since 2005?
Unfortunately, I think democracy has never been given an opportunity. The same person, President Museveni, who went to the bush to fight for democracy, I think has not moved away from the fact that he did not trust the processes, and he's never trusted the process.
All right, just hold that thought, Nabillah Nagai. Kampala, we are getting information that Patrick Amuriat is on his campaign trail in Mbarara, and we do have an update from there. Yes, let's get that update.
We are coming to you was, of course, created recently. This the Forum for Democratic Change presidential candidate Patrick Oboy Amuriat will be campaigning in this city and the district of Mbarara, as well as in Singiro. Of course, yesterday he was in Ruchiga and Tungamo districts, where he campaigned and speaking to the people there. He had various rallies at the various top overs in those districts, where he talked about the issues to do with agriculture, security, education, and of course he was accompanied by the former presidential candidate, Dr. Kiza Besigye. And of course we believe that this is, is energizing his campaign rallies in these areas where you campaigned in Kigezi sub-region, but also now Ankole sub-region that he embarked on yesterday. I'm here with the presidential candidate, Engineer Patrick Oboy, just to give us a picture of how the campaigns are going on so far. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning to you, viewers. I am happy to be on the show together with my friends Enos Kanyesigire and Nicholas Atuhaire, whom I am visiting today in their constituencies and in Singiro North and in Singiro South.
Yes. Honorable, it is about 3 weeks now since the campaigns started. How is it going for you?
It's been a mixed grill for me, in the sense that we've encountered very excited people, my fellow villagers. I have gone to them, and they're very happy to see me and excited and reassuring, saying to me, look, you are going to get our votes. You are the man for this job. We think you will bond well with us. And this is really very pleasing, for myself, and I believe it would be for any other candidate. It's a happy moment when you find people appreciating you and wanting to touch you, wanting to say to you, look, we've been seeing you on television, and now we are seeing the real person. This is quite good. But on the other hand, we have also had a very tough time. We have had a tough time with the amount of time that is given to us, in the sense that 65 days, 145 districts is very short time. And so we have to rush and unable to get to every point that would have loved to get to. But also inhibited by bad roads, our movements have to be slowed down. The Museveni roads all over the country, whichever region of the country you go to, are actually terrible roads. And this slows us down, and many times we are unable to finish our day's program. But also the other aspect of the violence meted on us by the police force, it's reaching unprecedented levels. Well, we have seen this happening with our fellow candidates, the NUP candidates, the Mugisha Muntu and the General Henry Tumukunde. And it's also at our backyards where we have been tear gassed, live bullets shot very close to myself, the presidential candidate, rubber bullets hurting people, and tear gas and these ugly vehicles coming after us. It's not really very comfortable being on the campaign with all these mean-looking soldiers, army men, and police breathing on your neck every moment and everywhere that you move to.
Honorable, at this time, have you been able to identify the causes or the reasons as to why in some areas actually you are met with the violence at you and your supporters, and then in some areas actually you have peaceful campaigns, like maybe yesterday somebody would say that at the First Lady's backyard in Tungamo possibly would have expected some scenes there, chaotic scenes, but it was almost peaceful, yet in Rukunjiri the other day you had people tear gassed. Well, have you tried to establish the reasons for this?
Well, that is a question that should really be given to the police force, not to me as a candidate. But I can only guess that sometimes they would like to exercise good manners when we are at their backyards. And so that, say, well, he was here, but nothing happened. This is just trying to create excuses on the part of the police force. But by and large, really, we have been attacked everywhere, wherever we have gone. Yesterday in Tungamo, I don't think the police would have managed the huge turn-up that had come, to meet us and to greet us. And so maybe fearing risking, people's lives, they decided just to give it to us and allow us to go and hold our rally. Otherwise, we do not expect any kind action on us by a partisan police force that is under the instruction of the junta that they serve to protect and maintain against an opposition that intends to remove that junta from power.
Honorable, final question before we hand over to the studio. Today you are going to campaign in Mbarara City, Mbarara District, and in Sinjiro. What should the people of these areas expect from you as a presidential candidate?
Well, we have got a rich manifesto that we are bringing to the people in this region, but also to say to them that Museveni's overstay in power is causing problems against specifically, the people in this region of Ankole, because then they are viewed as the ones who are enjoying out of the suffering of the rest of the country. This is something that I would like to demystify today when I go into the hinterlands of Ankole and also coming to the city, and to say to them that I do understand that the Banyankole people and indeed the people from Western Uganda are hard-working people, and not all of them have gained through this rogue regime. It's only just a few who have gained through the mismanagement of this country, which is now affecting the rest of them. I am also going to say to them, I do understand the living conditions of the ordinary Munyankole or Muchiga, because I have worked and stayed among these people, building bridges in this part of the country for quite a while, and understand their situation as people who are hardworking but do not get anything out of their hard work.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, we are coming from you from Mbarara City, and we have been with the barefoot presidential candidate. As we are here, I will tell you that we are the only ones with our shoes, but for him, he's barefoot. Back to you in studio.
Well, the FDC barefoot presidential candidate Patrick Amuriat Oboi, very appealing to the eye. But what are his chances of clinching the top seat? Nabillah Kampala, let us in on, what are the chances of your former party clinching the top seat?
Well, I think it would be unfair for me to go into the details because, my track record and history with the inner workings of my former party.
Yes.
But all I can say, my former colleague was a member of parliament, Honorable Engineer Amuriat, I think campaigned on the pretext that please give me the vote against General Muntu in the internal politics because I'll not offer myself to stand against Besigye in the national elections. So I don't know what changed. I don't know if something, accidentally happened, but you can say very well that the intention from the onset was for Besigye to be on the ballot. But I think the cards were turned when, the pawns, got higher on the chessboard. The Kyagulanyi effect, which I say, I think is the one that has propelled Amuriat, accidentally by default. Maybe it was his luck that finally now he's a presidential candidate, which he campaigned against internally when he was campaigning against General Muntu. He said, vote for me because for me, I'll never dare be on the ballot.
But he's on the ballot now. What are his chances? Does he have a chance?
Like I said,
yes or no?
Okay. I'll just say I wish him luck, but...
well, of course, you clinched your first MP seat in 2006, and in 2005 we saw the restoration of multi-party politics. So we wanted to know from you, have you noticed, according to the behavior of government, do you think government has put in place a conducive environment where all political parties can thrive and operate?
In the first place, I think we see that President Museveni has backtracked on democratic processes. When he came in, I think he has always feared democratic, platforms like parties. Parties are a no-go area for him because the first 10 years, the pretext of restoring peace was used, and I think that was a mistake that we're still paying for, because I think those 10 years were important for growth of democracy, and even after that, the other 10 years, the 20 years that went into entrenching the one-party NRM, because actually the president sometimes, I heard him when he was addressing the nation, he actually was saying the NRA is going to deal with these people who are saying they will bring chaos. The NRA, I think he forgot.
Meaning the movement system is pretty much still alive.
Yes, because he forgot, I think, I think he was distressed, and he said the National Resistance Army. I want Maurice to go back and look at that video and know that the president said the NRA.
No. All I can say really to that is that in terms of democratization and participation, I think you have over almost 1 million positions that are being contested or have been contested before in this country. And I can report here that the Honorable Nabillah, as an MP, was democratically elected, as Kampala.
But for that position of the presidency...
So were you democratically elected?
The presidency is in a league of its own.
But were you democratically elected?
Yes.
Fantastic. So that shows that the democracy in this country has actually been on a forward trend.
The ring fence is around the presidency.
There's nothing like ring fence. The issue is we have had elections, they have been contested, and there have been really very serious participation, and with very serious candidates like, Chiza Besigye, very strong on policy, but Museveni managed to edge them. So I think the process has been, with challenges. Like now what we see, all this violence, that should never be accepted.
Morrison, I see where you're trying to veer to, but then the argument from so many political experts is that, yes, elections are not a mode for developing democracy, but they are a mode to keep some leaders within power for a longer time.
No, absolutely not. And listening to people like, for me, Amuriat,
yes,
really gives me, some level of hope. Because unlike...
Maurice is more comfortable
with
Amuriat.
Not at all.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Not at all. Because you see, at least Amuriat is speaking about agriculture when he's in some places. He's speaking about what they want to do about health. He's speaking about what they want to do in education. He's speaking about what they want to do for the economy.
He's a harmless
He wants...
contender.
No. He's speaking about...
Yes,
He's
Maurice.
speaking about what they want to do in international relations. But when you hear from these other camps, and at least General Muntu also tries.
Honorable Chagulanyi.
He was in General Muntu was in Rwenzori region speaking about land matters and some of those issues. But
until he said the president has
these
to
other
resign,
candidates,
now he's being blocked.
These other candidates.
Why is it hard to say Honorable Chagulanyi?
These other candidates, who, are not speaking, they are not really speaking about people issues. And I think the police, in terms of how they have managed, like Honorable Chagulanyi, has helped prop them up and not to question their deeper malady in terms of lack of understanding of the structure of the country, but also the plans. Because when you ask, apart from complaining, this is going wrong, when you ask them, what do you actually want to do when you take power in May 2021? I can tell you it is Angansi.
Okay.
They actually do have the factors.
have-
Nabillah Nage, please narrate the factors that you plan to put in place if
I
you take
think
over
one,
power.
restoration of democracy is a big thing in terms of changing government. Number two, our candidate is a representation. He's not one of the issues that is being raised, but he's a representation of everything that should be restored.
You see,
Our
Let her
main,
finish.
yes,
no,
our main.
he's a vehicle for her to win the mayor race.
No.
You ask her why she joined the group.
Let me
Continue,
tell you.
Nabillah.
By the way, why shouldn't I join NUP? It's a new party. It's a new platform. It is a fresh idea. And I can say that our presidential candidates and a NUP manifesto stands for, like a youth employment. That's very important. When you're talking about any policy that does not include youth, that means, like you're leaving the bigger chunk of the population out. We are talking about restoring term limits
What do you want to do for the youth?
for the youth.
We
We need to have industrialization.
Restoring term limits.
Real industrialization. What we are looking about, we are saying we've seen investors who camouflage as investors, but when they come here, they're petty traders. And those are the people the NRM thinks, and there would be no problem, by the way, of youth unemployment. And the genesis of Robert Chagulanyi is a symptom of what is grossly wrong with the NRM policies. And when we are talking about employment and return of jobs to the country, and also what we are looking at is saying our foreign policy should also be challenged. Our foreign policy is a mixture of everything. Our foreign policy is neither ideologically west, ideologically east. It's like it's a blend.
We
It's a
are on our
category.
own.
We are on our own. When it fits us as Uganda right now, our foreign policy, we will lobby the West for them to say we are okay when it comes to
Let me just
democracy.
give information.
Let her first finish. Nabillah, are you done?
No, I'm just saying that we really do injustice to the National Unity Platform when you say we don't have any policy view or any policy programs for this country.
And of course, Morrison Rwakakamba also said that all he hears from the National Unity Platform is you talking about the youth. But what Morrison Rwakakamba seems to forget that this election is anchored on virgin voters. We have 77% of this population under the age of 25. So if you can get all these voters on your side, you have this election in your bag.
No, but that is to diminish the fact that youth do not discern, because the youth also, want a plan. Really, what's the plan? Apart from you saying you are a youth and you're running because Museveni is old, okay, thank you very much. But what do you really want to do for us? And there is no clarity. And just
It's
like
restoration.
just like you have heard from what are the specifics?
Restoration of constitutionalism.
And the information I wanted to give her is that 5 or so days ago, Bloomberg published a report of, even during the crisis of COVID, which are the economy that are growing very fast. And Uganda is number 5 in the world out of 193 countries. That's very important, because for it to cause development, you must first grow. You must grow the pie, and then you can dedicate that pie to strategic sectors that would accentuate jobs and development. President Museveni, his program for the youth is extremely very specific. He's saying Well, we have attracted investors, they are paying taxes, we are getting some of this money, we are putting into yoga, okay? If you are carpenters, if you are welders, if you need skills development, here is a basket of money for you to accentuate.
The key word, Morrison, is accessibility to these funds.
This fund...
It's impossible almost
This
for some
fund
people.
has been decentralized to sub-counties. It is in the districts. And it is a fund called Emyoga. It is there. And youth, no matter which political party you belong to, you can access if you want to go in agriculture, if you want to start a small business, if you want to start a cottage industry. These resources are there. And they did not come from Mars. It is a result of correct policy, attracting investors, both foreign and domestic, and making sure that they pay the taxes, they create the jobs, and then again you reinvest.
Yes. The information
so
we are getting...
Can I give you
so the
some
point I'm making is that this is a specific program. I would love, for example,
Morris.
that me and Nabillah and
him
people
fast
from NUP, we debate on whether this Emyoga is actually relevant, whether it is going to work, whether it is not going to work. That's a good policy debate. But to say we just want to remove President Museveni because he's old and our candidate is young and fresh, and that...
But that's also a genuine...
and that young people are only going to vote for that. That is a travesty.
Morris, I think you're being unfair to the agitation of the majority of Ugandans.
Go ahead,
Nabillah.
Nabillah.
You have the numbers.
Who are young people. That is not under contestation. That the majority of Ugandans are youthful.
That's a perception. No, they are youthful, but,
yes.
that they want to vote against Museveni is a perception.
No, for us to say, to premise your candidature on the majority, that's what democracy is. And I think we should not dismiss that. No. The other issue is that we are seeing a civil service that is very, apathetic. We are seeing minimum wage issues not being addressed in this country. And actually, the NRM is against even just addressing minimum wage.
You see, candidature should be based on ideas and not
optimism. And remuneration.
And not optimism of because there is a majority here. Okay,
go ahead.
I position myself like that.
Of our civil service, of armed forces. When you saw that our president said we can enumerate our policemen better than they are, I think that's a good thing. That's a policy to say, like, let's look at the wage discrepancies in our country, where some people are employed and they earn something and others are like laborers. That is an issue that we are looking at.
So, Nabillah Nagai, the messaging we are getting from the NRM seems to indicate that NUP are very ideologically bankrupt young people and they are not a threat to the central government. But why are we seeing such heavy-handedness being meted out on Robert Kyagulanyi and his NUP supporters? Could it be that this government is scared of the seemingly ideologically bankrupt young people?
Like I said, the young President Museveni of 1980 was dismissed like that.
You're young, you have no ideas.
You're young, and you know what, you can't do anything. Yes. So he's actually so scared because when he was dismissed, he knew where his capital lay. He knew that the young people, actually he went with young people. He didn't go with old people to the bush. So to dismiss energetic youth for agitating to be part of their own present and future is to say Uganda now should be, negotiated from another point of view. We are not going to negotiate the 1980 way. The information, you'll give it to me, Morris.
You're going to talk, Morris, and we still have time.
The negotiation, actually, we are better negotiators as NUP. I think if we opted to do the younger generation what they did in 1980, to take up arms and go to the bush, I think we are better negotiators. We say, yes, we can tussle it out democratically. We have a party and then we are going to challenge you. But for us to be like, have the bush come out of Luwero to the streets of all districts in Uganda. We saw, gun-wielding, civilians shoot at people. And no one is questioning that. And I think we've seen that. It's like, these wars in Sierra Leone, in Central Africa Republic. The scenes in Uganda are reminiscent of chaos and lawlessness. The guns are back on the streets. Unfortunately, it is still the same state that, you know, gives these weapons to hooligans, to so-called vigilantes, to shoot at people. And I think we need a commission of inquiry, both nationally and internationally, to address the people who have been given weapons to shoot at, you know, at will. We can say that when we are going, and when we are saying police, police is under siege. And we should not shy away from saying police are helplessly being hoarded into shooting at people. And when you see the address of the president, he was actually seething with anger at why police is not even using more violence.
Could it be the reason why he said the army should take over the protests?
Well, the army has been in charge of, you know, shooting people in this one. The police are unceremoniously being forced into this whole agenda. And I think I want to thank the police. Don't fall into that trap. Don't be, you know, coerced.
Does the absence of the Electoral Commission in all this quagmire mean that the security apparatus have taken over the machinations of this election?
I think Mr. Rwakakamba has done himself shame as a judge. Number two, I think he knows what's the best thing to do. If you think the chaos is too much for you as an individual, as a professional to be involved in, resign. The only option for Mr. Rwakakamba right now, not even halfway into the campaigns, should be for him to resign, to bring sanity to the institution of the Electoral Commission, to also bring sanity to the process of democracy and elections, to also, you know, say maybe we should halt the elections. Instead of it coming from Honorable Kyagulanyi, it should come from Mr. Rwakakamba himself.
Rwakakamba, since 1986, when this NRM regime took center stage, we've noticed a behavior. And many people are saying the government has been clamoring to consolidate itself in power and not even develop democracy and so forth. Do you agree?
No, first of all, this is an economy run by NRM that has been growing at 7%, 6%, top really in the world. In 1986, for example, the life expectancy of Ugandans was 48. People were dying at 48. Now the life expectancy of Ugandans is 62. Some give us 63 years. So that is a stretch of 14, 15 years. So all those indicators, Ugandan, the population has expounded. Why? Because of healthcare, immunization, you know, and really better
global development.
Some level really of better life, you know, in the country. So the NRM is running on a very, very serious record. But to Nabilla's really issue around the youth, that positioning on youth, I want to get back to that. Because just a few months ago, over 70% of young people voting at villages, voting at sub-counties, voting at the district, over 70% voted for NRM in the youth councils. And that's very significant. So it is wrong that even the opportunistic perception of NUP, that for us we have the youth, we are running because we are youth, is also based on...
The messaging we got from the other side was that... The messaging we got from the other side was that the Electoral Commission did not do enough awareness of the election.
Listen a bit. Their basis, you know, is written on sand. It is on sand. The youth are actually for NRM because NRM has had strategic clarity. Then on the issue of comparing, you see, Kyagulanyi of today is the Museveni of... Not at all. President Museveni, we have got testimonies of world leaders, you know, who have, you know, made a testimony of Museveni. President Nyerere, when President Museveni was still a very young man and an activist, he said, you may dislike Museveni, you may not agree with his policies, you may not even like the way he looks like, but President Museveni is a very serious person and focused on socio-economic transformation, not only of Uganda, but Africa.
But on
because
of
articulation, because of clarity of vision.
All right.
And we don't see it.
All right,
We
but
don't see
on
it
the
from
case of the
Kyagulanyi
youth
side.
elections, the messaging we got from the opposition was that Electoral Commission did not do enough public awareness on the election, so there was low participation of the young people within
Okay, so
that
if
election.
they did not participate,
But then, let me engage Honorable
that's not
Nabillah
just the role of the
Nagayi-Sempala.
that's not just the role
Honorable,
of the Electoral
yes.
Commission.
you are standing for Kampala, Lord Mayor.
Yeah.
Yes, in Kampala, this election is about young people who make most of their money within the CBD. How interesting is this election to you?
Well, I think, like I said, the bigger picture affects Kampala. So we cannot remove Kampala as the capital city from the whole electoral process. The national, outlook of this election will affect Kampala, definitely. And number two, we are looking at politics that is being defined by, like opposition, but very well, we know very well that what is happening with Kampala is anchored on the fact that there's been opposition mayors for the last 20 or so years, but there's never been, separation of the national from the Kampala. And for me, before even I go further, I think I want to say, my prayers go to the Lord Mayor, Erias Lukwago. I wish him a quick recovery. I don't know the latest, but I think it is not as bad as it was.
He's getting better, but let me interrupt you for a bit and go to the Electoral Commission, where my reporter Stephen Bida is on standby to talk to the Electoral Commission spokesperson, Paul Bukenya. A very good morning once again, my brother. What's the latest from that jurisdiction where you are right now?
Right here at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. I'm standing with Mr. Paul Bukenya, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. He's going to let me know whether they are ready to receive the NUP presidential flag bearer. And of course, the big question is that, of course, from many presidential candidates and many supporters of their supporters, is the Electoral Commission still in charge of these campaigns and the election? Mr. Paul Bukenya, are you still in charge?
Of course, we're in charge. It's our duty, it's our mandate to organize the elections, which is what we are doing, including looking at the issues that are happening and taking place. And I think that's why when a candidate has an issue, they come to the Electoral Commission. It is an acknowledgement that there is leadership in this matter. So we think that the public should really strengthen, the public should have confidence in that reality, in that truth. Concerning our mandate, and support us to deliver on our mandate for that matter.
But the concern from these candidates is that you are looking on as the security, the military, the police are going on disrupting their rallies and their meetings.
But that is not true. You know, Stephen, that after the first week we assessed and engaged the candidates and security officials. After the second week we also took on other measures concerning areas we had seen where there are gaps. So I think we are doing what we're supposed to do as the Electoral Commission. We're taking actions on issues that apparently are not going fine, and we're looking at addressing them. So the engagement for that matter and our involvement continues. We are the Electoral Commission, and this is a job that we have to do up to the end. And that's why we are having opportunity to have a candidate coming in today, this morning.
But also after the letter you wrote to the IGP, the police is still going on with the same issues, same actions that you were warning them against.
We are certainly taking up issues. We also want to know what's happening, establish facts around the issues, around the clashes between candidates and police. You can't say that it's entirely the candidates, you can't say it's entirely the police. We want to hear from all sides. What's happening? Why are we still having issues in this area? There are clear guidelines to follow by candidates, and certainly there are operational guidelines to be followed by police. So we're still pursuing these areas to find solutions. We want to have a smooth campaign at the end of it.
Yeah, but yes, with the bloodshed that we see in the campaigns flowing every day, does it still make sense to go ahead with this election?
Of course, the election is scheduled. We can and we should. And we must ensure that we don't have a repeat of ugly scenes that we've seen happening out there. They must be investigated. And the leadership of this country has taken it up at the highest level. You are aware of the presidential address on the matter. So as the Electoral Commission, we are engaging the authorities, the relevant authorities, to execute, to play their roles in a manner that facilitates orderly campaigns and campaigns that follow the guidelines we issued. And of course, our common enemy, which is COVID-19.
Okay. Ugandans are waiting to see whether the Electoral Commission is ready to receive Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, because I know some commissioners are outside the country trying to inspect the ballot printing process. Are you ready to receive them?
We may not be able to have a full commission meeting the way because commission needs to meet and have quorum and all that. But we cannot fail to receive a candidate when someone, because like you see, it's open and the returning officer is around. So if someone wants to come to the returning officer and make a presentation or put up a petition or raise a complaint or even any issue relating to the election, I think we can receive them and then manage it, handle it, and give the feedback or response on the matter they have raised. So receiving a candidate and their issues that they want to present to us is possible, and the Commission is ready to do that. Discussing the matters and making the decisions, of course, requires the Commission. We meet digitally, but of course, I think that's not possible now, but we'll address the candidate anyway. We'll receive the candidate and advise on how issues will be managed further.
Yes, but at least you've heard and seen him making statements that are not in your favor, they're against you, that you're biased, you're not acting. What would you tell him? At least many Ugandans are watching. What do you tell them and Robert Kyagulanyi?
Well, the returning officer is here and is going to meet him. They will have a discussion, a talk. And I don't want to speculate. I don't want to go into what my boss is going to say. But certainly his issues will be addressed. He's a candidate. And coming here is acknowledgement that there is a commission, there's a returning officer, and there is a place where you can seek for solutions to the challenges you're facing in the campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Bukenya. Your last word to the viewers, the candidates, and of course the supporters who are already an expression for these last 42 days of the campaigns and elections.
Yeah, especially for now, for NUP supporters and candidates out there, please be calm, because we do not want to see, we are receiving a small delegation, your candidates. So please be calm. It doesn't need to be accompanied by crowds. We don't want to see scenes here. It's a busy place. It's a busy city. And so we don't want to see situations coming up. But now for the rest of us who are out there, we have clear guidelines. Let's keep them. Let's follow them. Let's participate safely, because we have just one common enemy, and that's COVID-19. Let's fight against COVID-19.
In the studio, there is Honorable Nabillah Sempala, the NUP mayor candidate, and also, of course, the MP for Kampala, woman MP. She's saying that the chairperson, Justice Simon Byabakama, should resign. And of course, she's showing discomfort that you are not doing the work as you're supposed to be doing. She says Byabakama should resign. What do you tell her? Because she's watching now.
Well, she's a candidate, she's our candidate, she's in elections we are organizing and conducting, and there's leadership in this election. I would not comment further on her views. I think I would not cross that line, but we are continuing with addressing issues that are coming up in the election, and for that matter, we need the support of candidates and the general public to execute our role well, not to demoralize the commission or color it that it's not able to do this, because we are managing the situation and we know that there are issues that are coming up, which is why we are addressing concerns as they are brought to us.
The man of the season, Paul Bukenya, thank you so much for speaking to Morning at NTV. Stephen Mbino Fefeso Chibuga, taking you back to Romeo Busiku, who is there in the studio with the guests.
Electoral Commission spokesperson Paul Bukenya assuring the nation that the Electoral Commission is still pretty much in control of this election, despite what we've been seeing over the last couple of months or weeks. Now, Nabillah Sempala, after listening to Paul Bukenya's submission, is your heart now settled?
Mr. Bukenya is struggling to explain something that cannot be explained. And he's trying to, actually, that's why he was repeating the mandate. We still have the mandate. We still, are managing. And for him even to be struggling around the issue of mandate shows that their mandate has been stripped bare. And they're just trying to just coexist with the outfit that has taken over the election. They are trying to coexist. And that's why you say he referred to the president. Oh, this matter has been, taken up by high authorities. President Museveni is a candidate. So actually, for Mr. Bukenya to make reference to the president, not even as a candidate, but as somebody who was addressing the issues that are happening,
But he remains the commander.
is an embarrassment.
No, he's
And that shows that they are panicking. Actually, it's Mr. Museveni who is managing the election.
And of course, 187 million ballots are being printed in 3 countries. You have the United Arab Emirates, you do have South Africa and the United Kingdom. Do you think this, the awarding of this contract should have been given to maybe a local, printing company so that it could be easy to, mount oversight of the printing process? And do you think rigging has already taken off since, these are foreign companies dealing with the printing of the ballots?
We are still doing with actually even the physical management of the election without even going to the ballot.
I see.
So if the process, the physical process of the electioneering is not being managed well, and we realize that, like I said, Mr. Museveni, one of the presidential candidates, is managing it. Everybody is answerable to him. So how will they be there, his referee? Is he actually part of the commission? Has he taken over? And I think the Electoral Commission is panicking. They don't want to commit themselves, and that's why everyone wants to be politically correct, to protect their jobs. And also to see that, they are under duress. You see very well that, the commissioners are not there. Now, you see the returning officer, for addressing such, political violence, for there to be not even a commissioner. And then you say, the returning officers are there. They are trying to...
The returning officer is the chairman of the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Byabakama.
Yes.
Mr. Byabakama, if he receives us, like we say today, because he wasn't referring to him, because he could be actually talking about any returning officer, either for Kampala or... So I can say, Mr. Byabakama, my eyes are on you.
Morrison Rwakakamba, what's your submission on all this?
Well, my submission on all this is that this is an electoral commission, in my view, that has been improving over the years. One key demand from the opposition over the years was to have a justice to be the chairperson over the electoral commission, and that is what happened. The appointment of electoral commissioners is a shared responsibility between a sitting head of state who nominates, but the parliament where Nabillah sits approves. So it is a shared, appointment. And this is the same electoral commission that actually delivered Honorable Nabillah. Her people delivered her as a Kampala, but the electoral commission counted the votes.
Can I remind you,
counted the votes.
Do you know?
Let him first finish.
I think I was very respectful.
Let him first finish.
I have something that's very pertinent that will help you.
No. And
you know very well that the Electoral Commission petitioned.
And I still believe.
Let him first finish,
and
then
I still
you make a
believe
submission.
that this very electoral commission, when you win, for the position of mayor, because Honorable Nabillah is very respectful, and I think she has cooperated very strongly with the national resistance movement in building of Uganda. If you win, I think this electoral commission should be able to announce. But having said that, I also want to join her, Honorable Nabillah, in extending prayers to my friend, Honorable Elias Lukwago, the road mayor. I was here with him not so long ago. We had a chat. I hope he gets well.
But he's getting better. He had just gone for medical checkup at Aga Khan
I
Hospital
just wanted
in
to
Kenya.
remind Maurice
Remind him.
that unfortunately, when there was a petition, a constitutional petition against the seat of the city woman MP, the Electoral Commission became party.
But you won, and
but you see,
and you are in parliament.
No, I will tell you.
Maybe there could have been views because nobody is above the law. But
now you see.
But fortunately, you held steady.
The law.
And the Electoral Commission, signed for you that declaration.
All right,
and
away from that, Nabillah Nagai-Sempala, recently the KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Chisaka made a plea to have at least 10% of the national budget go to the KCCA for Kampala, because most of that money is generated here within the CBD. What do you make of all this?
I think Kampala, over the years, and with the KCCA Act, with the change from KCC to the authority, I think we saw an increase in the budget provisions to the city, because everybody is interested to see a vibrant capital city, and also to change the face of the slum-looking facade of Kampala. The roads infrastructure needs to be really, worked on. And yes, there's some work that is being done, but we could do better. And
so we need the 10%.
We need actually the 10% to go. And, for the metropolitan Kampala, not just for the Kampala KCCA authority, but metropolitan Kampala. I feel ashamed when I look at the new suburbs and the new metropoles around Kampala, like Nansana, like Chengera, become yet a bigger slum.
Nansana is almost a ghetto. The roads are impossible. You literally have to use a boat when it rains.
It's actually a shame that those that would have actually been the better version of development of the city are developing even worse. So actually we are still clinging on the colonial plans to actually even give life to Kampala. When you look at, Kololo and, any claim to a city, we are still borrowing and heavily leaning on the colonial plans.
Of course, Maurice Rwakakamba also did mention one of the developments within the Electoral Commission being that we have a justice, being the Electoral Commission chairperson. But then the other recommendation that did not come through was that the Judicial Service Commission should be the entity that actually chooses the Electoral Commission chairperson, not President Museveni and another candidate within the race. What do you make of all that within a minute, Nabillah, as we wrap up?
As we wrap up, I can say let's pray for this country. Prayers are actually needed. To calm down, the violence, the chaos, and, the civil, we are almost on the verge of a civil war, but it's just a campaign. And for us to actually be looking at these scenes on the streets of women being shot. I saw, by the way, child the other day from Boyikwe who had, been tear gassed. And, she was like almost, she was lifeless. Her lifeless body was being, she was being, running around, but still under tear gas. So I don't know the plight of that baby, if she was saved.
So you believe all this violence might keep women away on election day?
Women will come out and vote.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nabillah Nagai-Sempala. Morrison, you have a submission in a minute?
No, just a quick one to say that the NRM has been focused on inclusive growth, making sure that roads across the country, trunk roads, are working. But I agree with Nabillah and others who say that there should be dedicated budget to really Kampala and the metropolitan.
Right.
There is a lot of economic activity really happening here. But the final piece is that as Ugandans, we are first of all Ugandans before we are NUP, before we are NRM, before we are FDC. We should keep the peace, we should keep calm, and make sure that we are not confrontational, and hope that even after these elections, we remain in a united
Maurice Rwakakamba, the founding Chief Executive Officer for the Agency for Transformation, thank you very much. And also the incumbent Kampala Central Woman MP, Nabillah Nagai, thank you very much for coming through.
And the first, possible woman.
Indeed.
Mayor for the city.
And we wish you all the best on your journey. Yes. And to you who has been watching the show from 6:30 a.m. up to now, we do thank you very much for that undeterred love and loyalty. Let's interface tomorrow same time. Have yourselves a blessed day.
Buy the ITLP